The fire alarm went off at 5:12 a.m., but there was no fire. Ethan knew this before anyone else because the coffee was already burning. Not literally. The beans were fine, the machine intact, the smell rich and bitter like always. But something in the air had shifted, the way it does before a storm or a confession. He stood behind the reception desk of the Meridian Hotel, holding a porcelain cup that did not belong to any of the registered guests, listening to the alarms scream through the marble lobby, while a woman in a silk coat stared at him as if he were the one who had pulled the wire. She did not flinch. She did not cover her ears. She did not move.
Most guests panicked when the alarm went off. They shouted, demanded refunds, filmed on their phones. This woman only watched Ethan, her eyes sharp, assessing, as if she were trying to decide whether he was a mistake. "Is this part of the experience?" she asked calmly. Ethan placed the cup down very carefully.
"No, man," he said. "But the coffee is."
That was how it began. With an alarm no one could explain, a cup of coffee no one had ordered, and a woman who looked entirely wrong for this place. The Meridian was not a five-star hotel. It pretended to be one in brochures and online photos, but in reality, it was an aging building with stubborn plumbing, carpets that remembered too much, and a staff that functioned like a tired family that could not afford to fall apart. Ethan had worked here for 7 years, long enough to know the sounds the elevators made before they failed, long enough to recognize guests by the way they walked through the lobby, long enough to know that nothing truly unexpected ever happened. Until her. Her name, according to the reservation system, was Clara Whitmore. One night, deluxe room, paid in advance, no special requests.
She looked around the lobby like she was cataloging flaws for future reference. The faded painting above the fireplace, the hairline crack in the marble floor, the coffee machine Ethan had fixed himself using parts ordered online. "You're the administrator?" she asked. "Front desk manager," he replied. "Administrator sounds more important." She smiled faintly, as if amused by the distinction. "I'm used to places where the administrator does not make the coffee." "I'm used to places where the coffee does not taste like regret," Ethan said. "So I make it myself." That earned him a real smile. Brief, but real. The alarm shut off as suddenly as it had started. Silence flooded back into the lobby, thick and awkward. Somewhere upstairs, a guest yelled something profane. Life at the Meridian resumed. Clara picked up the cup. "This is good," she said after a sip. "Unexpectedly so." "That's our motto," Ethan said. "Unexpectedly functional." She looked at him again, longer this time, her gaze dropping briefly to the photo taped discreetly beneath the desk. A child, maybe 8 years old, missing 2 teeth and grinning with reckless confidence. "Your son?" she asked. "Daughter," Ethan corrected. "Mia. She'll be down later to do her homework in the breakfast area." "You bring her to work?"
"Every morning," he said. "It's quieter than daycare and safer than my apartment." Clara did not comment on that, but something in her expression shifted. Not pity. Something closer to curiosity. "I'll be staying longer," she said. Ethan frowned. "Your reservation, I know what it says," she interrupted gently. "I'll extend it. A week, maybe more." She placed her card on the counter. It was black, heavy, the kind of card that did not ask for permission. Ethan processed the extension without comment. He had learned not to question decisions that came wrapped in confidence. As he handed her the new keycard, their fingers brushed. Static. Or imagination. "Breakfast is from 6 to 9, he said. "I know," Clara replied. "I'll be here." She walked toward the elevator, her heels echoing too loudly for the hour. Ethan watched until the doors closed and then exhaled. By the time Mia arrived, the lobby smelled like toast and bleach. She dropped her backpack behind the desk and climbed onto the stool like she owned the place. "Fire alarm?" she asked. "How do you know?" "I heard it from outside," she said. "Also, you look like you swallowed a ghost." Ethan laughed despite himself. "New guest," he said. "Fancy." Mia peeked around the desk. "The scary pretty one?" "Yes," he said.
That one. Clara came down every morning after that, always at 7:30, always alone, always dressed as if she were about to step into another life entirely. She drank her coffee at the same small table near the window, watching the hotel wake up. Watching Ethan argue with suppliers, comfort angry guests, kneel to tie Mia's shoelaces. She asked questions about the hotel, about his schedule, about why he stayed. "I do not stay," Ethan told her one morning. "I endure." "That's worse," she said. "Staying implies choice." "You'd be surprised how expensive choice is," he replied. She did not argue. On the fourth day, a pipe burst on the third floor.
Water leaked through the ceiling of room 312, directly onto a businessman's open suitcase. Ethan ran, cursed, apologized, and comped the room. Clara stood in the hallway, watching the chaos unfold like a rehearsal. "You're good at this," she said when it was over. "At apologizing?" "At holding everything together with your hands," she corrected. That night, she did not go up to her room right away. She sat at the bar that was rarely open and asked Ethan to join her after his shift. He should have said no. He did not. They talked about nothing important, and everything that mattered stayed just beneath the surface. When she finally stood to leave, she paused. "You make this place feel alive," she said. "That's rare." After she left, Ethan noticed something strange. Her room number had changed in the system. No request, no record. She was now registered indefinitely. And for the first time since his wife had died, since the Meridian had become both refuge and trap, Ethan felt something close to fear. Not of losing what he had, but of wanting more. The hotel started misbehaving after that, not in ways that could be reported. Nothing dramatic enough to justify a call to management or the city inspectors, just small, intimate failures, as if the building itself were reacting to Clara's presence. Key cards demagnetized overnight. Elevators paused between floors for one breath too long. The old chandelier in the lobby flickered whenever she crossed beneath it. Ethan noticed because he noticed everything. Survival had trained him that way. On the seventh morning, Clara did not come down at 7:30. Mia noticed first. "She's late," she said around a mouthful of cereal, legs swinging from the stool. "Maybe she slept in," Ethan replied, though Clara did not strike him as someone who slept accidentally. At 8:15, Ethan sent housekeeping to check the room. At 8:30, he went himself. Room 417 smelled like expensive soap and something colder, metallic. The bed was untouched, the bathroom dry. Her suitcase still stood by the window, perfectly arranged, as if waiting for instruction. But Clara was gone. No exit recorded, no elevator log, no camera footage of her leaving the floor. Ethan stood in the doorway longer than necessary, his hand resting on the frame. The hotel hummed around him, pretending this was normal. She reappeared at 9:40. She walked through the front doors carrying a paper bag from a bakery 3 blocks away, her hair slightly damp from rain that had not been forecast. "You disappeared," Ethan said before he could stop himself. She smiled. "So did you. Once."
That was not possible. He had never told her about leaving the city after his wife died, about the months he barely remembered, drifting through cheap rentals and night shifts before the Meridian took him in. He stared at her, pulse loud in his ears. "You look like you've seen something you do not want to understand," she said softly. Mia leaned over the counter. "He does that." Clara laughed, a low sound that settled uneasily into the space between them. She placed a croissant in front of Mia, then turned back to Ethan. "I had a meeting," she said. "Business." "Here?" he asked. "In this city," she replied.
About this hotel. The word landed wrong. "What kind of meeting?" She studied him, as if weighing honesty like currency. "I represent a private investment group," she said finally. "We acquire properties with potential." Ethan felt his stomach tighten. "The Meridian is not for sale." "Everything is," Clara said. "It just depends on timing." That afternoon, a man in a tailored suit arrived, then another. They occupied the corner table in the lobby, laptops open, murmuring. The staff grew nervous. Rumors moved faster than facts. By evening, Ethan knew. The Meridian was being evaluated for acquisition, renovation, rebranding, translation, closure. He confronted Clara after Mia fell asleep in the break room, curled up on a folded coat. "You knew," he said. "Yes," she replied. "You did not think to tell me?" "I wanted to see who you were first," she said. "Not the employee, the man. That's convenient." She did not flinch. "It's honest." They stood in the empty lobby, the lights dimmed to their nighttime glow. The hotel breathed around them, old and tired. "This place keeps you alive," Clara said. "But it's also killing you." "You do not get to decide that," Ethan snapped. She stepped closer. "I get to offer you an exit." The offer came 2 days later, a severance package generous enough to change his life. A recommendation letter that would open doors, assistance with relocation. All he had to do was stay cooperative, professional, quiet. He refused. The Meridian retaliated. The next week was a disaster. A double booking that should not have been possible. A broken freezer that spoiled thousands in food. A guest slipped on stairs that had been inspected the day before. Management called, asked questions, raised eyebrows. Clara watched it all with a troubled expression that did not match her polished calm. "This is not how it's supposed to go," she admitted one night, sitting with Ethan in the closed bar. The numbers were clean. "You think the hotel knows?" he said bitterly. She looked at him sharply. "What?" "That it's being erased," he continued, "and it's fighting back." She did not laugh. Instead, she reached across the bar and took his hand. "Come with me," she said quietly, "before this place collapses on you." He thought of Mia sleeping under flickering lights, of the staff who trusted him, of the building that had held him together when nothing else had. "I can't," he said. Her grip tightened. "Then you'll lose." On the final night of evaluation, the power went out. Not completely, just enough. Emergency lights flickered on, casting long shadows across the lobby. The elevators froze. The security system rebooted endlessly. Guests panicked. Phones lit the darkness. In the chaos, Mia disappeared. Ethan realized it when he called her name and heard nothing but the echo of his own voice. He ran, through stairwells and hallways, through a hotel that suddenly felt unfamiliar, rearranged. Doors that should have led to storage opened into unused suites. Corridors stretched longer than they should have. He found her on the top floor, standing with Clara, The rooftop door was open, rain blowing in sideways. The city spread beneath them, glittering and indifferent.
"Mia," Ethan gasped. "Get away from the edge." "She's fine," Clara said. "She understands." Mia turned, her face calm in a way that terrified him. "She says the hotel is sick," Mia said. "And you're part of it." Ethan stared at Clara, betrayal burning hot and wild. "What did you do to her?" "Nothing," Clara said. "Children just see things earlier." Lightning split the sky. "This place is going to end," Clara continued. "Tonight or slowly. You can leave with me, or stay and be buried." Ethan stepped forward, rain soaking him, heart tearing in two directions. Behind him, the meridian groaned. A sound like an old animal finally deciding to lie down. And for the first time, Ethan understood. The hotel was not fighting the sale. It was choosing who it would take with it. The roof lights flickered once, twice, then steadied into a sickly yellow glow. Rain slicked the concrete, pooling around Mia's sneakers. Ethan moved slowly, hands raised, afraid the hotel itself might interpret a sudden gesture as a threat. "Mia," he said, forcing calm into his voice. "Come here. Now."
She looked at him with an expression he had only seen once before, years ago, when her mother lay in a hospital bed and squeezed Mia's tiny fingers as if trying to pass something invisible into her. "You promised you would not lie anymore," Mia said. Ethan swallowed. "I'm not lying." "Yes, you are," she replied. "You say this is just a job, but it's not. It's where you disappeared into." Clara watched the exchange like a witness, not a participant. Rain dotted her coat, darkening the silk. "She's right," Clara said. "You did not stay for her. You stayed because the hotel let you stop being a person." Ethan turned on her. "You used her." "I listened to her," Clara corrected. "That's different." A deep vibration rolled through the building, strong enough to rattle the rooftop door against its frame. Somewhere below, glass shattered, guests screamed. The meridian was done waiting. Clara raised her voice over the wind. "The structure is failing. Old electrical systems, compromised supports. Once the emergency generators overload, the fire suppression system will trigger. Lower floors first." "You planned this," Ethan said. "No," she said, and for the first time, there was fear in her eyes. "I underestimated it." Another tremor. The edge of the roof cracked, a jagged line racing toward the drain. "Mia, now!" Ethan lunged forward. She stepped back instead. "The hotel says you won't not leave unless you lose it," Mia said, her voice flat, distant. "And it does not want me." Ethan felt something inside him tear open. "I'll leave," he said hoarsely. "I swear. We'll go anywhere. Just come to me." Mia hesitated. The building groaned again, louder this time, a sound of surrender. Clara moved. She grabbed Mia and shoved her forward, hard, sending her sliding across the wet concrete into Ethan's arms. The impact knocked them both down. Ethan wrapped himself around his daughter, shielding her as debris rained from above. When he looked up, Clara was standing at the edge. "What are you doing?" he shouted. She smiled at him, rain streaking her face like tears she refused to acknowledge. "I told you," she said. "I offer exits." The roof collapsed beneath her feet. She vanished without a scream. The rest happened quickly, too quickly to feel real. Fire alarms howled again, this time justified. Sprinklers exploded through ceilings. Staff herded guests out into the rain-soaked street. Sirens tore through the night.
Ethan carried Mia down the stairs, past walls that split and floors that sagged.
The meridian seemed almost gentle with them, holding just long enough, opening paths that should not have existed. They reached the street seconds before the top floors began to fall inward, the building consuming itself in a roar of dust and flame. By morning, nothing stood where the meridian had been, just wreckage and silence. They said it was an electrical fault, years of neglect, a miracle no one died. No one mentioned Clara Whitmore. Her name produced no records, no missing persons report, no financial trail. The investment group dissolved overnight. Ethan and Mia left the city 2 days later. They moved somewhere smaller, quieter.
Ethan took a job at a cafe near a bus station. He made coffee every morning. He slept at night. Sometimes he woke up reaching for a front desk that was not there. Mia stopped talking about the hotel until one afternoon, months later, when a woman walked into the cafe wearing a rain-dark coat and asked for an espresso. She was elegant, familiar in a way that made Ethan's chest tighten. Mia looked up from her homework. The lights did not flicker. "That one does not belong to a building," Mia said softly. The woman smiled. That night, the woman stayed.
They lay on the narrow bed while the city breathed outside the thin window, buses sighing as they stopped, footsteps fading into distance. The room was dark except for a stripe of light from a street lamp cutting across the wall. Ethan lay on his back, staring at the ceiling, aware of her beside him through warmth, weight, the quiet certainty of another body choosing to remain. She turned toward him. Her hand rested on his chest, fingers splayed, feeling the steady rhythm beneath. "You're still here," she said softly. "So are you," he answered. She traced small, absent circles, slow enough that time seemed to loosen around them. When he pulled her closer, she came without resistance, fitting against him like something long misplaced and finally returned. They kissed again, slower than before. Less question, more acceptance. When they moved together, it was quiet. No urgency. Just the shared decision to be present, fully, without pretending this moment could save or destroy either of them. After, she lay with her head on his shoulder, one leg draped loosely over his, breath evening out. Ethan listened to it, grounding himself in the sound. "I do not stay," she said after a long silence. "I know," he replied. "But tonight," she added, "I wanted to know what it felt like." Sometime before morning, she slept. Ethan did not. When dawn crept in, pale and cautious, she dressed quietly. He watched without moving, memorizing the ordinary reality of her, the way she paused, the way she hesitated, just once. Mia was still asleep. The woman kissed Ethan's cheek, light as a promise she had no intention of keeping. By the time the cafe opened, she was gone. No flickering lights, no echoes of collapsing walls. Just the lingering warmth on the sheets and the certainty that some connections existed not to last, but to remind you that you were still capable of choosing. Ethan brewed the first pot of coffee and opened the door. This time, the hotel did not follow him. And for the first time, neither did she.